Last summer, Logic released No Pressure, which officially marked the start of his retirement from the rap game. No Pressure was met with praise from critics and fans alike, and was one of the most bittersweet albums I've ever listened to. But why this one? Why was No Pressure the final album of Logic's career? After 6 studio albums and being known as one of the best lyricists in the game, why did Logic decide to retire when he did? Logic has always been known as a pretty positive artist. He blew up on his lyrical ability and his A1 production, but for the most part, all throughout his career, he's always been known as a positive rapper. However, his music wasn't cheesy. There was never any punches held, he let his imagination run wild, and he was never afraid to have extremely colorful language on his verses. It wasn't like he would only make music that never contained a foul word or idea ever. He made turn-up songs about his childhood, mental health, race, and a lot more. Logic always kept it real, talks a lot about his past, and was a word surgeon while doing it. In order to understand why one of the best rappers out there decided to throw in the towel, we need to go back. Not that far back. Back to 2017, when Logic released Everybody. Everybody was not great. It wasn't. This was his 3rd studio album, and the build up to its release had quite a bit of hype around it. Weighing in at an hour and 11 minutes long off of 13 songs, it contained features from Killer Mike, Chuck D, Juicy J, Khalid, No ID, and a few more. The production was great, like it always is with Logic's music. The problem with Everybody was the subject matter. The title implies inclusiveness, and while the music itself seems like it has the intention of including everyone, it does not. Everybody ran into the classic problem of jack of all trades, master of none. It was full of these grand songs that all had big production but were extremely hollow inside. It was all Logic rapping in circles and not actually making any good points that aren't already known as common sense. This was a pretty important release for Logic. Your 3rd studio album typically shows how you've grown as an artist and what your fans should expect from you moving forward. But every artist is allowed to have a bad release. It happens. Making mistakes helps you grow. But the problem was bigger than the album itself. Everybody had created 3 huge issues for Logic. Number 1 being the biracial meme. Before, Logic struggled with not being accepted as a black man by the black community or the white community. This is something that he's mentioned in plenty of his songs pre-Everybody, but on that album in particular, it seemed like he mentioned being biracial on every other verse. Quite a few songs centered around him being both black and white. It was really like Logic's hour-plus way of musically yelling, "I'm black and white and you should accept me," and it was like, damn man, we get it. You're biracial, so you want everybody to be treated fairly. We got it. As you can imagine, this turned into a meme. Anytime someone mentioned Logic, you had to say, you know he's biracial, right? That joke probably still follows him around. Because Everybody was such a big release, a lot of people who weren't familiar with Logic associated him as the biracial rapper who made the Suicide Hotline song. As a byproduct of that, it created the 2nd issue, Corny. Almost overnight, Logic became the corny rapper who just talks about being biracial, which was the moniker that he was able to dodge early in his career. But because Everybody was such a mess, the positive message that he had always preached was lost in the corny translation, very similar to Christian rap. But from that point forward, a lot of people recognized that Logic shares a very positive message, but kind of just rolled their eyes and smirked because he's corny. And number 3, the Logic stan. All of this created a kind of divide in Logic's fanbase. Logic was not about to quietly sweep Everybody under the rug. He had a full-blown tour planned around this release, and man did he follow through. While a lot of his fans, including myself, were just waiting for him to be done with Everybody, there were still a lot who looked past the mess that it was and just solely focused on its message. Just love everybody. Yeah, the album is a damn mess, but just love everybody. That, folks, that, by definition, is a stan. Even when something is blatantly bad, a stan will still support it. But the Logic stans were 10 times worse than stans of almost anything else because Everybody was preaching positivity, so you can't hate on it. Logic fans became known for being super cringy because they were so blindly positive, and thus the divide amongst his own fans was formed. The cringy stans and everyone else. And what could Logic do about it? It's not like he could come out and denounce them or say, stop being positive. Every celebrity has stans, It's just his happened to be extra cringy. Once those 3 issues had formed, they acted as giant spurs in Logic's side that he had to grit his way through for years. It really turned into how long can Logic put up with being an artist that has these clouds over his head. Those 3 clouds caused constant showers on Logic parades. You had your average Joe and people with pretty big platforms constantly clowning him. Obviously, Joe Budden being the captain there.
Logic is ass.
But if it wasn't someone clowning him for constantly mentioning his mixed race, it was someone clowning him for being corny. And if it wasn't someone clowning him for being corny, it was someone clowning him for his stance. Some of it was legit criticism in the immediate aftermath of everybody, but it stuck around and evolved into this really nasty hate that seemed to follow Logic around everywhere he went. And everybody was really his only misstep, if you ask me. Everything before and after that album was great, but the bullying just stuck around, and Logic was very public about it affecting his well-being. He also realized the popularity contest that the rap game had turned into. It's so much less about the music and more about the perception of you to the public. Unfortunately, he did read into a lot of the hate and negative criticism that people threw his way. Even though I and many others believe he's in the same talent and lyrical class as Kendrick and J. Cole, many others do not and would constantly remind him of that. And unfortunately, Bobby can never understand why. Why he, the dude that preaches nothing but peace, love, and positivity, seemingly gets all the hate. Well, it's something that contains no logical explanation, so it's easier to just make peace with it. Logic started to step away from the music industry in a couple ways. He started taking long hiatuses from social media. He moved out of LA to the more quiet, slower paced Montana, and the ultimate trump card, he and his wife had their first child. He wanted to live the dad life full time, which to him sounded a hell of a lot better than trying to please a world full of people who were just gonna hate on him anyway. So with all that being said, he was done with it. He had nothing left to prove and figured he'd rather be a dad and a husband full time. No Pressure was Logic's last full release and was his farewell gift to us all. But is that it? Is he actually retired, or is he just saying that? Well, he is retired. For now. He obviously still enjoys making music, it's just that for the time being, he doesn't seem to like putting his music out there. He's made it pretty clear that he's still making music and not just rap either, and I'm sure he's helping other artists make their music. I'd say, give him time. No Pressure is definitely not the last Logic album we'll ever get. He'll probably pop up as a producer and or a feature on someone else's album, and I think there's a good chance he'll have some new music of his own further down the road. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button before you leave, and while you're at it, hit the subscribe button too so you can keep up with all of my new videos, polls, and live streams. Once I hit 5,000 subscribers, I'll be releasing my Galactic Grizzly clothing line that I've been working on for the past few months. Also, if you're into sports, I co-host a sports podcast called After Further Review with my good friend Shaq, and we do that live on YouTube every Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we talk about the latest in NBA and NFL. If you want to check that out, the link to that channel is down in the description below. Thanks for sticking around until the very end of the video. I'll talk to you all in the next one. Peace.